Hey guys, and welcome to this Train Sim TV video, the first one we've done in absolutely ages. Sorry it's been so long. We've been working really hard on this project, which is the South Western Expressways-Reading for Just Trains, and that is the pure reason why there hasn't really been any for ages. This is going to be a showcase of the route, particularly the new section through to Westbury, as far as Pewsey anyway. I'm going to take a look at the newest part of the route. And this route has just become available from Just Trains. As always with these Just Train showcase videos, it is not a review. We can't review it because we've been involved in the production of it, so it wouldn't be fair of us to be able to review it. And I'm sure there'll be other videos that pop up on YouTube that do either first looks like on Thompson or other review style videos that are out there. So you can check those out, I'm sure, guys. And if you want a critic's viewpoint, they'll be the best place to get them. In terms of showcase, I'll talk you through our development process. I'll certainly go into some reasons why we've not done something, some reasons why we have done other things, and I'll talk to you about the behind the scenes part of the project as well. So we're going to start here at Reading. We're in one of the included scenarios. So remember, this is Reading in 2010, and I'm going to talk about all that in a minute. So this is one of the included scenarios. This is 1C83, the 1219 London Paddington to Taunton. And it says, "Good afternoon, driver. Please open your doors and set up your cab ready for your 12:49 departure from Reading." The ETS is always turned on and all sorts of other information on there. So we're going to call it Reading, Theale, Thatcham, Newbury, Hungerford, Bedwyn, Pewsey, Westbury, Castlecary, Taunton. We're only going to take this one probably as far as Westbury, because the section between Westbury and Taunton, it will take a long time to do. It's just not suitable to do all this amount of time in a YouTube video. It's even a little bit long to Westbury, to be honest, but we'll get there, I'm sure. So I'm going to set up the cab here first. I've opened the doors. I'm going to put the reverser in. When I've got all this set up, we'll have a fly around Reading. I'll talk you through the station and everything, and what we've done. That's all set up. Right, oh, didn't mean to go into this view. There we go, 8 camera view. So yeah, we're at Reading, and as I said, this has been done in 2010 fashion. I'll talk about the reasons behind that as we go along, because it'll take a few minutes to explain that. But yeah, this is Reading as it was in 2010, so that's pre-flyovers down here, and that's pre any sort of station modifications. It's essentially as it was in that period, before they did all the modifications. So it's when it was right at the back end of its days in this style, to be honest. So you got over here, you got the platforms 1 to 3, you got the platforms for basically the Bedwyn and the Newbury services to go in. And then you got over that way, obviously you got towards, on the right hand side towards Didcot, and then the left hand side is where we go, which is the Barks and Hants towards Westbury. So everything on the inside's full of detail, the outside's got some detail as well, so you got all sorts of new clutter as well in here. You got stuff you can see here, like the snacks machine, and a cool thing that I love is this little coolant dispenser. A lot of things that we've had to make to just try and give the station a feel of being as it would have been in periods. So we've got the CIS monitors, that was still in place in 2010. Other things like these old style wooden buffers. So we just wanted to give the place a feel of the era, and we didn't have much stuff in the library already that was suitable for that, so we had to make a lot of it, you know, stuff like the zone markers, various other things. And the hardest thing for this one has been trying to find images to actually bring the place to life a bit and understand how it was laid out and everything. So obviously we've had to go on old images because we don't exactly have any new ones because it's not there anymore. So that's the hardest thing we had to do. And you'll find that some areas we just couldn't get images of, so they're not going to be full of stuff, but we've tried to do it the best we possibly can. Luckily, Adam Lucas from DCG had his research images on there from when they did the route originally, so those have been a help. And then there was some other guy, I think it was Rail GB on Flickr, that was helpful. But a lot of these other buildings have been added in to give the feel for Reading. You got the car park and everything over there, and obviously the famous Brown Bridge that links between. Reading's actually got 12 platforms, but only 10 numbers, because these southern platforms for services down to Wokingham and beyond are actually 4A and 4B. So we're on 4, and then you've got 4A and 4B over here. And these are the southern trains on the third rail. You've got hydraulic buffers and stuff in there as well, which is a cool little addition. I think the thing I like most about some of these bits as well is these lamps that Will's done for us. There's some lovely detailing on those. Outside the station, You got the Three Guineas pub. Somebody actually mentioned that on one of the streams, so I'm glad that they'll be able to go and sit outside the virtual Three Guineas. Reading Station building, the sort of unique sort of pyramid almost style to it. And then as you get out there, it's a little bit less detailed. Anyway, let's get prepared, ready to go here. So, the DRF. You got obviously a few custom signals here at Reading. We haven't got a full set of custom signals because they didn't need a full set. Stuff like this offset one here is a custom signal. And then there's various other bits. There's an upside down signal there, which had to be made. But all in all, there wasn't that much needed doing. A lot of it's still 3-aspect in this area because they hadn't actually put in 4-aspect signalling throughout. So we'll get underway. Next stop for us is Theale, and that's only about 5 miles, so it won't take us very long to get there at all. And this is obviously back in the days when HSTs still dominated these services in 2010. So as we come away from Reading, we'll immediately turn left and we'll head off towards Southcote Junction, Reading West, and then Southcote Junction shortly afterwards. I'll put my FPS count up there in the corner. Generally I'm running around 40 to 60 FPS throughout the route, some places a bit more. I haven't seen it really drop below 30. My FPS lock's off again at the moment. Normally I have it locked to 30, but my game's decided for the third time in a year that it's now uninstalled on Steam, so I can't actually run any of my things on the game like FPS locks. So this is Reading West now, we're coming towards. We're on the curve now around there. On the right you got the lower depot, the lower triangle depot. We'll have a little look at that in a second because we're going to get bowled out by the NMT here. So as we pass that, we'll have a quick look down there for you. So this is the lower triangle depot. This has completely been destroyed these days. You can't see anything. In these days, the new sort of alignment comes out of Reading and goes underneath here. And comes around the back onto the triangle. So the new depot is still here in real life, but this one all got knocked down to make way for the flyovers and unders and everything that they did. Point of contention here at Reading Depot, I know this is going to get bugged and people are going to be like, why haven't they connected those tracks up? For whatever reason, that is how they are. When we laid it, we're like, is that right? Is it really meant to be like that? Even after we'd laid it, we were still looking like, is that a bug? And I was like, no, that's not a bug, I don't think. And we saw... When I looked, and obviously got the third shed road that's actually not connected either, so I'm guessing that's what it came from originally. But yeah, that's weird how it was laid out like that. But it is accurate according to Google Earth from 2010, so not sure quite why, but it is. Then up here you got the newer depot, so you've got the upper triangle depot up here with its distinct shed-looking sort of building. This has replaced obviously the Kuju model that was here previously in routes. That's not on ever, by the way, with that. That's just the way the doors are 3D. It looked like there was something wrong with it then. It's just the black paint on the inside there to give it that effect. We'll continue now around the curve. We'll go through Reading West Station in a moment. And the line speed will then go up to 50. It's up to 50 now, then it'll go up to 60 shortly afterwards. Just as we hit the station. Not the power back. So once we've gone through Reading West, the line there on the right is the line that comes back from Didcot direction off the Great Western Main Line to form the triangle. And this is Reading West Junction and Reading West Station. So we can have a little look around here. I don't want to spend too long sort of jumping in and out of the cab. I know people have criticised in the past that we're sort of like flying around a lot in these videos. But then that's the idea, is to try and give you that flavour of the route and everything. But I do like some of the signage and stuff that's been done. We've tried to give it the worn feel where it's got the worn feel. Especially on this newer section, the 40 miles to Pewsey, where it's all original stuff. So the idea there is we're giving it the look of how it was, which is a lot of these stations along here had elements of Network South East left on them in this era. Because there were Network South East stations back in the 90s. A lot of them had all sorts of little bits of branding left and stuff in 2010. Or that, not branding, but faded colours and stuff on the signs, in particular the text as you saw there at Reading West. So where applicable, we've added those on the section as far as, I think that's as far as Bedwyn, where you see that sort of thing happening. Because I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect Bedwyn was the edge of the NSE operating area. So this coming up now is Southcote Junction. Southcote Junction being where the line to Basingstoke diverges off to the left. So that'll disappear off the left in a second, and then we'll be on the Reading to Taunton line proper. So as we start going along here, I'll start talking about a few of the other things with this project. So the project originally was started by third-party development, so it's not actually a Just Trains route as such. It was a third-party pair of developers that were doing it, and the reason it became a Just Trains product is quite sad actually, in that the original developers, Peter and Paul Jeans, unfortunately towards the back end of last year it became clear that unfortunately Peter would not be able to finish the project, and he sadly passed away in beginning of 2021. So rather than let the project, you know, not get released or whatever, we bought it from Peter and Paul, who were very kind and allow us to do that, and decided that we would follow their wishes of keeping it to 2010, which to be honest, and from a personal standpoint, I'm quite happy to do that, because it's my sort of era personally, but it's also a good trial to see how it sells as a dated route. Let's see if people will pick it up. I think it's about as far back as you want to be going. I think you can probably go into the mid-2000s, but I think 2010 realistically is about as far back really as you want to go to attract a decent customer base. And the main positive behind that is that obviously you got all the stock for it. We've got all the stock for this route essentially, speaking. In particular, they've got some good HST mods from the like of Major Wales that really bring it to life, and obviously the AP enhancement packs. And also being 2010 as well, it can be backdated. You can do scenarios in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that won't look too out of place either, because the signalling and everything in 2010 was obviously pretty much the same as it had been since it was redone in most cases around 1986. Certainly on the western end of it was 1986. In some places it was before that. So I wanted to make sure we captured that feel. But also, if you'd have done it, for instance, if we'd done the route now in 2021, you're really limited. If you do it with OHLA to Newbury, you're very much limited there, that you can only do scenarios that are in the modern era. So you can only do scenarios back to 2018 without using imagination. Now I'm all for using imagination, I have no real problem with that, but I think it's better for everybody really to have it in the older era at the moment, because we have there's the right stock for it. Obviously if we had a fully working 800 to high standards like AP or whatever already out there, then that'd be different, and in mass development. At the moment that's not the case, so obviously it's not really possible. So we're just coming into Theale now. That was the Theale loop on the right hand side that just left. Now remember, this is Theale in 2010, so again there'll be no third platform here. It's very much as it was in 2010 without the third platform on the right hand side. A lot of these stations have been developed by the newest addition to the Just Trains team, that is Callum Green. I'm pleased to have him on board with us. And obviously Wilstead has been working with him on stuff as well. So I'm just going to pull through. I think the HST stop boards are just the other side of the bridge here, which they are. So we're just going to pull up to those now. I've braked quite early, that's bad mark. Then we're going to end up overshooting just to top it off. We'll have a look around stuff on the right there in a second, so I'm going to get the doors open here. It's not going to be a very long stop by the looks. So yeah, this is Theale Station. We've tried to do as much signage and stuff as we can to give the place the right to use the word, excuse the use of the word feel at Theale, but give it the right feel. Try and give it the right approach. Got the mirrors and stuff on the platform there. Just to try and make sure that the stations have that 2010 feel, because there's no way we could do it without needing all the stuff that we've had to make. we didn't have the stuff in the library. We didn't want to just clutter it with old stuff, so that was the reason we did that. I'm just going to set the train off whilst we have a little look down here. So as I said, this is Theale Yards. Now, one of the most challenging assets we've had to make for this is obviously the stuff down here in the terminals at Theale, because we didn't have anything we could use that was suitable. So we've gone along and we've used quite a lot of stuff here. We've got, just notice we've got a yellow signal, so we have to watch out for that. You've got the loading pads here for the cement trains, the aggregates trains and stuff like that that come here. And you can take your trains in here and unload to your heart's content. You can't do anything with it because its TS is not really built like that in terms of interactivity, but you've got the oil terminal as well, so you should be able to run your freight trains into here and hopefully see some good scenarios coming in and out of here. Obviously going back towards Reading, it's a little bit limited because it's not very far, but a lot of the stuff, such as that 59 there on the right, would have come from the Westbury end of the route, so there'll be some good opportunities there, I'm sure, for some freight scenarios. So yeah, as I said, the route was developed originally by Peter and Paul Jn, and the whole idea was born from them. They developed the original South Western Expressways, and they were well on with developing the new updated version before Peter sadly fell ill. And indeed, a lot of the work that you see is their work. So what we've done with the route is when we bought it from them, we decided to make sure that the original section of the route, so that is Bristol to Exeter, and then the section round to Westbury, and then all the way from Westbury back to Taunton and up to Pewsey, was revamped. So we made sure that got revamped, particularly at the line sides, to a more reasonable standard for 2021. There's been various track changes here and there. The track has not been ripped up by any means in all areas, because there's simply no way that the route could be budgeted to have all the track replaced and do all the other things that we've done with it as well. Obviously with just trains' actual involvement, the budget has increased in terms of doing more assets and stuff like that. So we've done more assets and things further it than would have been originally getting done. The track was something we considered replacing, but as again, it would have meant that the other parts of the route would have looked less than the newer part, and we want it all to look, decent. The older parts will still look older than this newer section because naturally that's how they are, but if you're driving it strictly from within the cab and just outside the cab, then it should be a very reasonable experience. If you're going to fly around everywhere and stuff like that, which is unnatural to do in TS, then you are still going to see the old style scenery, because we haven't got time or the money to replace every tree on the route, every bush on the route, every house on the route and stuff like that. But generally speaking, if you can see it from the cab, then it should have been swapped or revamped in some way. And in terms of the track, the thing you'll notice with that, it's all super elevated and everything. It's just that because of the way it was done on the old JT track roll, which by its nature is quite bumpy. So you get those bumps going in and out the curves. That's not because it's not laid with easements and stuff like that. And indeed in some areas it wasn't originally. But that's not what the problem is. The problem is the old JT track roll, which causes this silly sort of bumps in some curves that you'll see. And unfortunately the only replacement for that would have been ripping up all the track. And we felt that the best decision was not to do that and to actually spend the money more wisely on making sure the route's up to a decent standard in general, in terms of the overall look. So this is often nerve, and something I want to draw attention to here is the crash that happened back in November 2004, where sadly I think it was 7 people died in that one. I can't actually remember, and apologies for that. But it was a very nasty accident involving a car on the crossing, which, it was a very nasty incident, and we wanted to make sure we paid tribute to that by having the plaque that's actually hitting the little memorial garden that is here as it was in 2010. So we wanted to make sure that was in there. So we're now coming around the curve. We'll head round towards Aldermaston in a second. We're not stopping there. Our next stop is Thatcham. So as I said, the route's got super elevation. This is one of my favourite curves. But you can see the fast transition that I was talking about there. It's just a fast transition in and out of the curves. It's not got track brakes and stuff in it. So you got the link into the old Padworth sidings here on the left in there, as we prepare to head through Aldermaston station at high speed. And this is obviously one of the smaller stations on the route. So you'll find when you buy the route, you get in total 19 scenarios. And obviously, as we normally do at JT, we've done a set of... I forgot that we were on a yellow then. That was bad mark, speeding up to 72. Good job it's on yellow here. You'll find that you have a selection of 10 original scenarios. So we've done 10 with the various pay away requirements that we normally do, and then 9, I believe it is, default versions. And those give you the option of driving all sorts of stuff across the route. You can drive, there's a Vale Tour scenario, there's a 166 to Bedwyn, there's a number of HST scenarios. They're the main traction really on the route. And we've tried to spread the focus of those so you cover all the route in those scenarios. So every bit of the route will be covered in those scenarios to hopefully give you a good flavour of the drive. And take you to all corners of the route. That was the main key. You've got a couple of fast ones, you've got a couple of slow ones. These HST services, because of the nature of this line, the HSTs often have this habit of stopping nearly every lamppost essentially. This Taunton one is essentially a semi-fast rather than just being a straight fast. One of the scenarios, I think it's 1A74, and there's an I think it's 0553 Plymouth Paddington. That one is quite a fast one. That stops at Taunton only from Exeter to Reading, so you go rest of the way pretty much flat out. We wanted to try and include some of these ones where you got the extra different stopping patterns and stuff, just so you got something a bit more to do from the driving position, to make sure that it's nice and varied. So I'm just waiting to see what the next signal will be. And we're on the approach to, I think it's Midgham down here. So in terms of route mileage, you get... It's hard to... We don't exactly know exactly how many miles it is, because obviously you've got yards and little spurs and stuff that add the number. But it's over 220. It's around 225 miles, this route, in terms of its overall length. So there's certainly plenty there to keep you occupied for a long time. There's an awful lot of scenario potential there as well. So we're looking forward certainly to seeing just what scenarios people can come up with, because there's a lot of stuff for developers to do, which I'm sure will be done in due course. So this is Midgham Station, another one of Callum's ones, and I love on here he's done the little bits missing out of the station roof sort of thing. So you got the little teeth sort of missing. Again, you got the platform mirror and stuff on the station, which was used by 166, I think it is, that use those. FPS at the minute 51, so it's running fine. Anything above 30 you won't notice much difference above that, so anything above that is the key. You should find really that, generally speaking, other than areas around Reading and stuff like that, he should generally perform a bit better than the Midland mainline route. Reading is probably similar to Leicester. If you've got the Midland Main Line, that's how Reading will perform. That's certainly the most detailed area on the route, with Westbury and Bristol being close second and third. Probably Bristol second. Got another HST heading the other way. So if you like your HST driving, then this is going to be probably the best route you can get really for that sort of thing, because it's essentially their stomping ground until 2018. 2018-19. I'm just waiting here to see what signal's going to be. And it's a yellow, so we're going to carry on about 45 mile an hour. It's just gone green. Not sure what we're following. It could be a unit, could be a freight. So on the long straight now towards Colthorpe Crossing. Once we've passed over that, then we'll be into Thatcham, and that'll be our next stop in just over a mile's time. I'll show you the map when we get to Thatcham, so I can show you that, and then we'll talk about a bit more about the route. You can just see Colthorpe Footbridge and the crossing coming into view at the end of this straight. As we get down there, that's when I'll be thinking about braking for Thatcham. You got to pull quite a long way over the crossing there. It's a weird little station. Got a little crossing box on the right hand side there. So in terms of custom assets, it's nowhere near the same level as MML. For one, they've got to spread it over a 225 mile route. In terms of actual assets made, it's probably somewhere around the same amount, but you're not going to see them as intensely as you did with MML. Not every bridge has been done, for instance, because simply put, on a 225 mile route, you just can't do that. It'd end up costing about 60 quid, which is not something that we ever want to be doing. So we've made sure that everything that needs to be there is there, so every landmark and stuff you should find is in the route. But if you're expecting your mate's house to be there at Thatcham as a custom asset, then it's probably not going to be there. Stuff like that Royal Mail Depot on the right there is one of the, for instance, landmarks that we've done, because we noticed that you could see that from the platform end. Slight overshoot there. I didn't think I was going to stop there, to be honest, the way I came flying in. So as I said, we'll have a look at the map in a second, but we'll have a little look at Thatcham Station first. Now I noticed Callum, I know when he did the texturing and stuff on this one, is he wanted to get the dusty sort of look that it had. It had a weird dusty look to it. So we got that on this side, and then on the other side obviously we've got the different style of bricks. Just wanted to make sure we captured that feel of it. So as I said, we'll have a little look at the map. I'll pull away first. So yeah, map. So on the right over here you got Reading, which is where we obviously started. You see we haven't exactly gone very far, we're only on this blue section down here. This is as far as we've got so far. So you got Theale there with the 3 lines, Aldermaston, and then where we are now, which is heading towards Newbury, between Thatcham and Newbury. So you got Newbury Racecourse. It goes along then, along the valley towards Hungerford and Bedwyn. And then you come across Southcote Summit and down towards Pewsey, and ultimately through Woodbury to Westbury. And then at Westbury is where it starts to get more interesting. You get the network feel of it starts coming in. So you got the lines up to Chippenham, Melksham, Chippenham. You got the line through Box Tunnel, through Bradford and Avon, Bathampton Junction, Bath Spa, then up to Bristol Temple Meads, and then you've got the entirety of Bristol to Exeter. And then on top of that you've also got Taunton or Coglow Junction back to Westbury via Frome as well. Frome, so you got all those bits in the route. And again, that gives you a mileage of around 225. In terms of stations and stuff like that, I believe it's 39 stations on the route in total. Every one of those is not, none of those are like Cuja or anything like that. They're all custom stations, although particularly, and it must be stressed, the ones between Bristol to Exeter are still the original stations. They've got updated platform textures, and that is with thanks to Benedict Cooper for providing those. So they've got updated platform textures. They may get further updates, specifically looking at Exeter there, because that's the oldest one. But again, it all comes down to budget and spending that wisely and trying to get the best out of the route. And the other problem with those stations actually is we didn't even get the source files. We have them. They're so old. I think they're about, certainly at least 11 years old. I would suspect, actually, possibly 13 years old. Some of those files. Maybe between 11 and 13 somewhere. And the developer that made them, Tom Williams, is no longer with Just Trains. So getting the source files for those was not easy, and we didn't think we were able to get them originally, but we did actually manage to get hold of them about 3 weeks ago, which was far too late to really do anything major with them. But we are looking, particularly at Bristol Temple Meads, in a service pack of doing something there, but at this point there's no guarantees on that. So we're now coming in towards Newbury Racecourse. So Newbury Racecourse, we've tried to develop the outside of it. We've not done like racecourse fencing and stuff like that, because again, it doesn't exactly fit the mantra of trying to do everything that you can see from the cab. You can see the racecourse buildings from the cab, so we've made sure that they're in there. But don't be going along the racecourse expecting to see the white fencing in there, because it's not. Because you can't see it from the cab. It's very much a cab orientated route. So this is Newbury Racecourse Station. We'll have a little fly around here in a second. This is actually one of my favourite stations on the route. Something that we're obviously going to build on as well is these advertising hoardings. I know that Will wanted to make more, but unfortunately you can't just go wasting money in the budget just making adverts. So these are, we've just got the 2 new ones and then use the old ones in places as well. So we've got 2 new ones. More will follow obviously as routes go along there in the common library, I think. I'm not sure, actually there might not be in the common library, those ones. I'm sure that we'll be going some in the common library though. Anyway, Callum made all these signs and stuff, so we've got Bad Blokes, which is a funny little name that he gave there, and you got other stuff, signage and stuff that we were able to find photos of. Again, all in the idea of giving the right sort of approach to the station and making sure that it has that feel about it. This again has that decrepit sort of NSE feel. It's sort of just lingering on with the faded signs and everything. And then obviously, as I said, you've got the racecourse. Again, don't be expecting to see every fence posting. Tom's actually put the little horse jumps in there, but we wanted to make sure that the stands at least were represented, so they're there. Then another landmark that we're just coming up to actually on the right is the Stirling Garage. That's actually gone in real life now. That's that weird tall shaped building there. We needed to make that because there was literally nothing sort of looked like it. It's very notable as you're coming into Newbury. I'm passing a stone train there that's stood in the loop waiting for us. There's a 166 heading the other way making glorious noises. And that's working a train back to Reading, so I'll stop all stations back to Reading. If only we had a decent 166, that'd obviously be an awesome thing to have. Doing services on here with them. You know, the Bedwyn flyer and stuff like that. I know Tom had some problems. I think Newbury was actually the most challenging station he had to work with. And I'll talk about that in a second whilst I'm busy overshooting my station stop. So Newbury was quite challenging for Tom, which might sound a bit weird. But the reason for it is because if you think of the name Newbury, and then we had the same issue with Reading, we were lucky we just came across a good pile of photos with Reading, is we use Flickr for a lot of our research images and stuff like that. Now when we put Newbury, we ended up with all sorts. We ended up with Newbury Park Station, we ended up with West Newbury, Massachusetts photos, which ended up with a lot of American football, I think it was. You end up with all sorts of other things. So the clutter and stuff was quite hard to find pictures of at Newbury. So that was the hardest thing we had there. And that is why I say it's certainly the one that Tom struggled with the most in that respect. But Reading also was a nightmare for that. In terms of when we were doing Reading, obviously when you search Reading on Flickr, well, Flickr doesn't know that you're searching for Reading, so it'll think you're searching for reading. So you end up with stuff like that. And then you end up with all sorts of other photos for Reading Festival. and it becomes a bit of a pain in the backside trying to actually find them. We just looked into the albums and stuff that we found that helped us out. Now obviously if we're doing a modern route, so with the MML, we do our own research for those. And indeed if we were doing this as a full JT route, we probably would have tried to visit some of these other stations in person to do the research. The problem we've had there obviously is, well, one, we've been developing in the middle of a pandemic. None of us live within walking distance. The closest of us to these stations is about 60 miles away. But by the time lockdown was lifted, we'd already done the stations anyway. And also, to be honest, when you're doing a backdated route, there's only so much you can garner from the new, current station models. A lot of them, especially since the OHLE was added as far as Newbury, have had new footbridges and all sorts of other mods, so any research images of those would have been completely useless. So Flickr's basically been the main source, and YouTube cab rides and stuff like that. And just trying to get as much information from those as we can. I feel like there's been a pretty good job being done in terms of trying to capture the overall feel of the route. I'm sure that local people will notice things missing. But always with JT, we try to cater to everybody. We particularly do try to cater towards the hardcore enthusiast. But the JT market always has been and always will be casual players. And to make sure that people that just want to get in a train, take it for a drive, and feel like they're in the area, that's the people that we're aiming this at. And it always has been the people that we're aiming at. If at the same time we can make a route that's attracts everybody, including those that are really looking for the hardcore simulation side of it, then that's always a bonus, and it's something that we always try to do, but it's certainly not something that's in our prime targets. But hopefully this route will make a good sort of mix between those two. Because of its nature of being a much more older route in terms of when it was started in TS, by its very nature it's going to be more difficult to make it up to those standards. In the pricing terms for this route, so from new, if you didn't own any of the routes before, if you're just buying the South Western Expressways for the first time, it's $29.99. If you owned Bristol to Exeter originally, and if you owned the original South Western Expressways, you will have an email code and your Just Trains account email, so the email that you registered on Just Trains with, you will have a code there that you can use at any time. There's no expiry as far as I'm aware on it, to get the price down to $21.99. So it'll be $21.99 if you already own South Western Expressways or Bristol to Exeter. Now I've seen a few people say, well, why doesn't that then apply to Western Main Lines, because Bristol to Exeter is in Western Main Lines. There's two reasons for that. The one reason that you could say is that this route originally was a duplicate of Bristol to Exeter, but that obviously is not going to be the full reason. It's a partial reason. It's not really one that we thought about, to be honest. The actual reason really is profit. We set the targets that we need to make the profit. So obviously, if we offered the discount to everybody, so basically if we offered the discount to, so at the moment it's applied to South Western Expressways previous owners and Bristol to Exeter. Now Bristol to Exeter, I think it's on the JT site alone, has sold 4,995. South Western Expressways is less than that, but it's still quite a high number. You got to assume that somewhere in there you're going to be giving a discount to over 5,000 people there. Now if you add on the Western Main Lines customers, now obviously there's a lot of crossover in there, but you're probably going to be over 6,000 people. The train sim market is not much more than 6,000 people, so if you offer that discount to everybody, then you start digging a bit of a financial hole for yourself if you're not careful. So obviously it would have been fantastic to offer the discount to everybody, and we fully expect that people that own Western's Main Lines will not necessarily be happy that they don't get the discount, and that's natural. But quite simply, unfortunately, a line does have to be drawn somewhere, and we felt that that was the most sensible line to draw in terms of how we did it. The key was to make sure that South Western Expressways customers got the discount. Indeed, until about a week from release, we weren't actually going to apply that discount to Bristol to Exeter customers. but we felt that it was probably only fair considering that it is literally a straight, duplicate of B2E. And indeed, we actually looked at possibly taking Bristol to Extra off sale, but obviously there will be no real advantage to doing that. There's not really anybody buying it anymore because it's such an old route, and the only thing it would serve to do is cause issues for freeware developers. So we purposely made sure that we didn't do that. So Bristol to Extra will be remaining on sale for the time being. In terms of people that bought South Western Expressways on Steam, so if you bought South Western Expressways on Steam, or Bristol to Extra on Steam, you won't get any discount at the moment. This route isn't on Steam at the moment. Whether DCG will apply the discounts that we're applying or not is up to them. Hopefully they are going to do. They've certainly been told about it, and hopefully they will do that. There's nothing certainly I can control about that. I'd like it if they do, because obviously it's better for everybody then. But the bottom line with JT add-ons, generally speaking, is just buy them from JT. You get the better support there, you get the full support of JT, in-house support. You get more scenarios, generally speaking. And all the money goes to JT. Can't be more honest with you than that. But my main reason for that probably would be the support. You get the fantastic support from the guys there. You got Craig, Dan, Simon and Mark. Specifically the latter two there, Dan and Mark, joined the company recently, and they've been doing a fantastic job with support. So hopefully you'll find that your support tickets get responded to a bit quicker than they have sometimes in the past, although it's been a bit of a busy time for JF as well recently, Just Flight, and those guys are helping out there. So let's just try and ease the load on them as much as anything, but you should find that you get replies quicker and everything than sometimes you would have done in the past, and those guys are doing a great job. Something that isn't doing a great job is me there stopping at Hungerford. We've just blasted straight through there. Too busy withering on about profits and profit margins and stuff. So yeah, this is Hungerford station. We're coming towards the end of the old NSE stations now, so still got bits clinging on. You can tell with the faded nature of the signs and stuff that the age of them. Did the little pub here as well, because it was a quite nice building that's right next to the station. And on the end of the platforms you got the different styling. So next stop for us then is Bedwyn. That's about 5 miles away. And that's as far as the 166 and local services go. So after Bedwyn is when the route will generally get quieter, because the other side of Bedwyn is basically, in the real world they call that section the desert, especially the section from Castle Cary to Taunton, because there's nothing there. It's open farmland and stuff, especially the bit from Somerton to Taunton to Coglow Junction. It's over the Somerset levels there. So on a bit of a climb now at Hungerford. So FPS at the minute is hovering around 70, which is pretty decent for a just trains route, to be honest. We normally aim for 60, which we just dropped back to now. Generally speaking, in scenarios we tend to run between 40 and 50 in most areas. So it's when you get into the more intense sort of towns and stuff where it can get a little bit more intense for the system. If you've got any questions, you can drop them in the comments and I'll try and answer what I can. But if you've got something that's related to product, you're probably better off just asking JT directly on by email. You can file a support ticket just to ask a question. You can also message on Facebook, and the guys will get back to you there. And indeed, I sometimes obviously go through the JT Facebook questions as well, so I can always answer any questions there. So we're about halfway now between, or roughly halfway, between Reading and Westbury. We've got the nice section along by the Connector Canal to come soon, which is probably my favourite section of the route. This section that we're on now, as we start going along here, the train really leans into these curves. You really sort of feel like you're in the countryside. Something that we have finally replaced is crossing signs. So for the first time on a JT route in God knows literally 10 years, we've got new crossing signs. We've got a variety of those because we wanted to make sure that you didn't see the same crossing sign at every crossing. We did a pack of foot crossing signs there in the Theale, the Common Library, so you'll be able to get all of those straight away. So we're going to start running alongside the Kentton Avon in a minute. We're coming towards Little Bedwyn first, and then we'll pass through Bedwyn soon after. Oh, we'll stop at Bedwyn. Sorry. Told myself I'm not stopping at Bedwyn there, but we are stopping at Bedwyn. So in a second, you can see now the spire there, a Little Bedwyn Church. We made that one as a custom asset because we wanted to make sure that you got that look of it as you're coming in the cab along here. You didn't just see a Cuju Church or one of our other ones. Indeed, not in every location have we done custom churches. We've only done a couple. We've done the ones at Bath and we've done that one. It's not something you could just go through and do every single one, but we always try and cherry pick some of the important ones that you notice, to make sure that you don't have a 5-circle effect and see the same Cuju Church every 50 yards. And indeed that one can be used in other places as well. It's been used in a few places on the route, just to vary it up a bit. But that is where it was made for. Did just drop into emergency. I've now dropped it into full service in the hope that I can stop here, because I've come across Bedwyn way too fast again. I'm going to have to drop into emergency, bad mark. Shocking driving. We'll just say that I'm doing the commentary and Tom's actually driving. Not quite sure why I was so late on the brakes then. I can't apply handbrakes, or I can apply one handbrake. Are we even going to stop here? We're not, are we? Goodbye Bedwyn. At this point, normally I'd probably cut the video, but I can't cut the video halfway through a showcase. So that was a showcase of how not to stop at a station there, guys. I hope you enjoyed Bedwyn. I guess the people on the train probably didn't enjoy Bedwyn, but I hope you did. Anyway, enough of that crap. Let's have a look round Bedwyn. So this is where the turnback siding is for the Bedwyn Flyer units that come from Paddington, and also the ones from Reading as well, the stoppers. Now we noticed the signs here were particularly faded in 2010. So we've got all sorts of little rust marks and stuff on them, and they're different on each side. So you got various ones, and that's actually a different one. That's the change here for buses to Marlborough one. Then you got other things like the new ticket machine that Will made, because we wanted to make sure you got the feel of seeing the actual ticket machine on the stations rather than just the usual stuff that we put in. And one of my favourite bits about Bedwyn Station is this little culvert that is put behind it. I thought that was quite cool, that feature. And then the bridge over the top there, obviously, as well. Now, the one thing you'll notice missing from these stations, really generally speaking, the biggest thing you'll notice missing is information posters and stuff like that that are branded First Great Western. We wanted to actually make our own ones, but it's just not a sensible way to spend the budget. Is not making, is making posters, unfortunately. So that is one of the things that didn't make it in time for release. Whether we make it in time for a patch is another matter. But In the odd place you will see GWR information posters just because it looks so bare without any. And if you try and search for FGW information posters, you may be lucky and come across some. And I've just noticed, by the way, Bad Tom, the set's the wrong way round. First class is at the front and standard to the back. So that right there, guys, that's a Bad Tom moment. This one's of his scenario, so I'm just going to throw him under the bus there because that's his scenario. I thought I'd sorted all those, but apparently not. I'll get patched anyway, no doubt. No doubt very quickly get patched as well because it'll get spotted. But yeah, you'll see the odd GWR poster around the route because, simply put, we couldn't find any First Great Western ones. No doubt there is some out there, and we did see a couple, but like it would have been the same one on every station. It wasn't even a really proper poster. If we were local to the routes again and there wasn't a pandemic, then we could have probably gone down and taken pictures of each of the information signs on the platform or the timetable and then just taken the branding off those. But with the situation in the world and also the situation of how far away some of us live, in my case I live, I think it's about 3 hours from me to Reading. I live in Wakefield, so it's not exactly local. Will lives even further north than me. Tom obviously is Blackpool area, and then Callum's in Wigan. There's only Alex in Bicester that's anywhere near this route. But as I said, we were doing these stations through February and March, which was still pretty much COVID time. So this is Crofton beam engines that we're coming up to. One of the more notable landmarks on the route. So you can see them on the right hand side, the big mill and chimney. It stands out a long way, you can see it from a couple of miles off. And we're now on the climb up towards Savernake Summit. And again, this is my favourite section of the line because it sort of leans into the curves as you go around. It's next stop Pewsey. So Pewsey is in 6 miles. So I know before release we did state there wasn't going to actually be any quick drives of the route. Pleased to say that there is quick drives included. So for those of you that want quick drives, you've got them there. Benedict Cooper again to thank for those. He did a good job sort of last week of coming up to release, of really getting on and cracking on doing those. So massive thanks to him for that. And they've got AI and stuff in them, and they should give you plenty of routing opportunities to enjoy for those that do like doing quick drives. Certainly we felt with the feedback that we got that we have nobody in house to actually do quick drives at the moment, and it was obviously they're not something that, generally speaking, you can just throw together in 5 minutes. So it's not something that we were going to actually do until Benedict offered us to actually, if he said he would make them, very kindly said he would make them if we wanted them. So we said to him, you know, if you can do them before release, then great. If not, we'll put them out as a patch. And he was able to actually do them quite a few days before release. And I know he was burning the midnight oil making them. But it was quite clear that there seems to be a big market for the quick drives. We've got quite a lot of messages on the Facebook. We've got some emails as well saying why is there no quick drives. We saw a lot of feedback as well in the streams saying why is there no quick drives. So clearly there are people that like doing them. So I'm sure they'll remain a feature of future JT routes, and they are featuring in this one as well. So we just got over Savernake Summit there, I believe. So we'll now be downhill essentially all the way to Westbury. And this is the section you'll see some of those jumps that I was on about on the curves. So you're not seeing any breaks in the track or anything like that. It's merely the old JT track roll, which when you do super elevated curves just have that tendency to bounce a bit. And again, the only way around that is to do a full relay. I've already been for all the reasons why we haven't done that. So if you're wondering that, then I suggest just going back early in the video. So thinking about the only station that we have completely replaced on the route with a completely new custom model was Westbury. So Westbury, all the oil stations on the older part will still be the same, or new versions to replace Pewsey. So the only complete rebuild, so in terms of deleting the original custom model and building a completely new one from scratch, that was Westbury Station. Because the one at Westbury was developed by some chaps who no longer work with Just Trains, and we didn't have the source files again for those. It was in a pretty poor state. It had ballot LOD problems where bits were disappearing, and the textures on it were, to be blunt, terrible. And the only option really was to make a new custom asset. There was no other option for us. So we made a new custom Westbury Station that was made by Column again. So you'll see that, and those that remember the old one should hopefully see a big improvement there. Other things that are new at Westbury, stuff like the power signal box. You've also got some new sections on the old part of the route, new stations on the old part of the route that are now done properly as custom stations instead of just Pewsey as they were before. So those, and I'm trying to remember these off the top of my head, I haven't got a list in front of me. Freshford is a brand new station that was developed by Knitting Singh. And then you've got Keynsham, which is a new one by Column again, and Oldfield Park, also another one by Column. We then replaced the one at Bedminster, not Bedminster, Parsons Street, sorry. So Parsons Street's now got a new custom model, along with a big sort of bridge that goes over the top there. And then there's a couple of new sheds at Bristol Barton Hill. Bristol Temple Meads has had a bit of extra clutter made for it. As I said earlier, we're sort of looking at doing a service pack to improve Bristol Temple Meads a bit more. We just wanted to get it to the point where it can go on sale. We're going to end up with another overshoot here if I'm not careful, because I'm feeling in way too hot again. The problem when you try and concentrate on talking and doing driving at the same time, it quite often doesn't work out very well. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll just about manage to stop. So this is Pewsey that we're coming into now. This is the last stop before Westbury. And a station that's only served by HST services, interestingly. There can't be many stations that were only served by HSTs and intercity services in theory. Or certainly not any secondary stations like this one, because it's not exactly a prime station, it's only a small town. But most HSTs do stop here. Certainly a lot of them do. Especially these short haul services like the Taunton one and the Froome ones and stuff like that. But quite a lot of the long distance ones stop here as well. So this one was by Will. Got the little Pewsey sign on the platform there. And the little buildings and all sorts of little gubbins, the footbridge and stuff like that. So next stop for us in 20 miles is Westbury, so it's obviously, this is, as I said, it's what they call the desert, these sorts of sections, but specifically I think the desert's actually, as I said, the Castle Carey bit onwards, but this is the most sort of open bit that you'll go through and the longest bit without a stop. The longest bit without really seeing much civilization. It's all farmland and woodland and stuff like that. When we get to Westbury, I'll stop driving there because we need to. We can't do the video all the way to Taunton. It would take until what time we're due there? I'm not sure what time we're due there, but put it this way, it'd be a long video. We're already at 58 minutes, and I don't want this to go over about 80 minutes. And in fact, I may cut the video on this section a bit because there's not too much to see. I've talked about most things that need to be talked about as we're coming along here. So yeah, I will cut the video here, and we'll talk again when we get towards Westbury Cement Works in about 10 minutes time. So we're now about 5 miles out of Westbury, so we'll soon be slowing down, ready for the junction into the station area. Just turned it on now because you can just about see the huge chimney at Westbury Cement Works now looming on the horizon. You can see that a good 4 miles away. as you're coming along this long straight from Lavington. So you'll see that peeping over the trees every so often. Then obviously we go right alongside it, and you can go in there and do scenarios in there if you wanted to as well. They're not included with the route, but if you wanted to do them, obviously you can do. So we'll start slowing down for the 50-mile-an-hour turn out towards Westbury in a minute. Whilst we're doing that, I'm going to go and take a look at Westbury Cement Works, because quite a lot of stuff in there. As you can see, the chimney's now really up in your face. Something else to note around here is also the Westbury White Horse, which is on that hill there, I think. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Horsing about. Just going to concentrate trying to get the train slowed down, because I've not been doing very well at that recently, let's be honest. So yeah, this is Westbury Cement Works, as I said. So a lot of stuff again by Wilstead in here, because we had a Kuju thing in here. It didn't actually look disastrously bad, it was just really low textures and just generally not up to the standard that we need to be set in here. So we got the chimney in, and we used various other bits from Midland Main Line and stuff to try and give the rest of it a feel that's somewhat accurate. And obviously the big tanks were made specially for it, and there's a lot of little cool details up there. And this was done over the course of a day or so by Will, just to try and give it that feel. And we've got the number 4 route indicator there for going into crossing over the junction just before Westbury Station. If you've got a 5 route indicator, the second one down there, you turn right here, and then you can head off towards Bath and Bristol that way. And one of the scenarios does take you to Bath and Bristol from Westbury Station as well. But that is where you would go if you were going in that direction. So we get the train down to 25 mile an hour. It's a very slow run into Westbury Station. You can see the new power signal box that we've had made there on the left. We had some, the extra power box there before, and we got feedback as to quite correctly that it simply didn't look right. It was grey rather than being brick like that is. So we made sure that the Westbury box got made. It's quite a big sort of structure. And then you got Westbury Station coming up, which is the biggest station that Callum's done since he joined the company back in January. And did a pretty good job on it. I was really impressed with it. It's light years ahead of the original, which was really not suitable, unfortunately. The original one was probably worse in some aspects than the original Bristol to Exeter station. The texture on it and everything was so low res. And indeed that's something that we improved with Bath's Bar station. Specifically we've improved the texture on that one, because they were well, they were nothing short of terrible, to be honest. So we'll have a little look around Westbury in a second, and then what we'll do is we'll go into free roam, and we'll have a fly around the route, and well, we'll probably just fly off from route editor, to be fair. Probably the most sensible thing to do, or the easiest thing to do. Just show you the principal points on the route. So this has also arrived at Westbury. Now we can have a little fly around. Turn the FPS counter off, because I don't need that anymore if I'm going to be going around the route editor. No point, but don't need to turn off what I'm talking about. So yes, Westbury Station. You got the disused line down the platform down the back. Then you got the 3 main platforms. Again, it was a bit of a tough one for signage and stuff like that, but we got there in the end with it. All sorts of little bits used, and a lot of the clutter that we made has been reused in different places along the route. You know, stuff like the new wheelchair ramps and the little bucket and brush that Will made. Stuff like that that's been reused in different places. And then you've obviously got the huge expanse of Westbury Yards in here as well. Very sparingly placed with wagons in this scenario, so as not to kill requirements everywhere. We said the Westbury White Horse, so you can't see it in this weather because it's quite hazy, but it's up there. You can't have to go into Route Editor to see it. Obviously the chimney is visible right from Westbury as well. But yeah, you got the Westbury White Horse up here on the hill, and if it's not hazy like it is here, again that can be seen back towards the junction as you're coming from through. So next up, I think we should fly in the map. We'll go to the map and let's have a fly to have a look at some of the features on the route. So first up, the main feature on this section would be probably the Lady Down Aqueduct that we've had built by Will. So we'll put Lady Down Aqueduct together. So this is one of two main aqueducts on this section. So you've got the aqueduct also at Dundas, which is near Avencliff. And Avencliff Aqueducts as well has been done. So a lot of work went into Avencliff is what we did there. If I can find Avencliff, there it is. Avencliff Hall. What we did with Avencliff, because it was completely wrong before with the Pewsey Bridge and everything, we decided to make a completely new aqueduct, which links into the existing canals and stuff. So that, and I also split the tracks and the platforms as well. We did have the source files for Avencliff, so we managed to split those apart because originally they didn't even have the gap between the tracks, so we put the gap between the tracks and then we put the aqueduct in the middle there. Then we can have a little fly along. So you got the new custom model at Freshford. So Freshford 2010, they just put this new sign in, or new old sign went in, but otherwise it's a very basic station. Then you come along the Avon Valley, so you can drive all along the Avon Valley. A couple of scenarios let you do that. I think it's 3 scenarios that do that. And this is the Dundas Aqueduct. Again, the tracks were split there. And then you sort of come along here and you go follow the valley round. You get Bathampton Junction, which is where the line to Chippenham comes in from the right. And this is not the ideal way to look at all this. We'll feature it in a proper driving video, probably in a Sunday drive video, I think, where there's not going to be much commentary. And obviously it'll be on streams. It's on Just Train streams, and it'll be on Tom's streams for definite as well. So we're just going to take a look now at some of the all new stuff around Bath, because we completely redid Bath because it was just not up to the standard that we need it to be. So this is Sydney Gardens. So all this is new, and again it's all based on cab view, so don't go flying up there because you're not going to see anything. It's very basic. You stay down here in cab view where you're meant to be, and you should hopefully agree that this is much better than it was, certainly, and captures the feel with the pine trees that are actually here at Bath and stuff like that. We don't have the exact style, but close enough, I feel. So this is the approach into Bath Spa, new viaduct model. We've got Bath Abbey, and I think I can't remember which one that is. It's St Anne's or St John's or something like that. They're 2 new churches because we wanted to make sure we got those in. New viaducts as you go into Bath Spa. Then the texturing on Bath has been generally just cleaned up. So improved textures all around Bath, some new signage, some new clutter. Because those that had the original route will remember just how sort of messy and shiny and just bad the station looked. So may get some further improvements in the patch, but for now it should be certainly decent enough. So from here you carry on, heading from Bath towards Bristol now. So we've got Oldfield Park, that's replaced a Pewsey model. So you've got Oldfield Park station. Again, replaced a Pewsey station, so it's a new custom asset there, a new custom station. And one of the things I like about this is the Avon Link sign that's still there. And then one of my favourite bits on here is Twerton Tunnels. So you got the famous castellated tunnel portals and the 2 Twerton tunnels, Twerton Short and Twerton Long. So Keynsham again is a new station model. We'll carry on though, we'll go through to Bristol now, because the video again is very, very long in the tooth. It's well over an hour now in length, and that's more than I really ever want to do in a video, because it takes so long for me to render them, my system, and then upload because my internet's pony. Just wait for everything to load in. This again is probably, other than Reading, the most intense part of the route. Now the main thing that we've added at Bristol is that Barton Hill now has some semblance of a custom asset, so it looks reasonable. And then we've gone for all new cutting walls around Bristol Temple Meads, so you won't get that thing where there's a fake bridge underneath or something like that. You've actually got proper bridges underneath. Not that anybody can see that from the cab, but it was to make sure that the gaps were filled in essentially. So the approach into Bristol should be improved over what it was, and that was the main intention. Obviously the big thing about Bristol now is we've got back the bridge over the top, the conveyor. So this conveyor brought parcels from this building here to the station via a conveyor system that went down onto the platforms. So that's been included, and the Cuju monstrosity that was there before has been replaced by the actual building. In terms of what's happened at Temple Meads, not a massive amount. So the actual model, the model itself is the same, other than, as I said, all stations on Bristol to Exeter have got improved platform textures. So you'll notice that they have improved over what they were. They were really, really, really low res before. And then we've also now got the split signalling. And this is with thanks to Barry Price for pointing it out to us. It was something I was aware of but never actually considered putting on the route, and then we sort of had time right at the end. We're going to do it as a patch. We had time right at the end of development when we did the 4-day delay to actually get these done. So they don't do anything in the game because Train Sim unfortunately can't handle them properly. But what happens in real life is you get an indication outside the station and it would say platform 3 or platform 4, sorry. And if you got a 3, that would mean you can come to this signal and you can't pass it. You would have to ask permission to pass it in real life if you'd only got a 3. If you passed it without having permission, then that would be counted as a SPAD in real life. If you got a 4 from the gantry down there, then you'd be able to go through it because you'd have a authorization to go into platform 4. And that's the unique way that Bristol Temple Meads splits these platforms. So you got 4, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, and 11 and 12. They're split by the split platforming system, split signal system. And then there's other Easter eggs on Bristol Temple Meads, including these old signs, which again, big thanks to Barry Price for helping me locate where they should be. And I just want to give Barry a big shout out as well, because he's been really helpful to us in the last few weeks of the development, giving us a lot of help and tips and stuff about the Bristol area, which have allowed us to add little bits here and there to the detail inside of it. So again, Bristol to Exeter, all revamped scenery. I'm not going to show it all now because it'd take forever. It's 80 odd miles. From the cab view, it's revamped. Again, don't go flying over here. You're going to see Cuju because it's not being replaced over there. Simple as that. If it's near the cab, it's been replaced. Obviously, all the signage on all these Bristol Exeter stations has been completely replaced. All the clutter has been replaced, so it'll be a completely new experience on the old stations. This is a completely new custom one at Parson Street because the original one was just not suitable at all for usage. You got the bridge over the top, and then you've got Bristol West. The tiny Freightliner depot at Bristol West is included. And I want to end this video with a little tribute to Peter Jeans, as I said, who sadly passed away. He, along with his brother Paul, was the original developer of the South Western Expressways route. Sadly lost his battle and passed away early in 2021. Rest in peace there, Peter. And thank you for everything you did. Without Peter, this route would not exist. I'm saying that we got to thank for it. We merely came in the last 4 months and finished it off. This is Coglow Junction, the last sort of major feature before you get into Taunton. And as I said, I'm not showing all the scenery up to here, but I just wanted to end with a tribute to Peter and a personal thank you to him as well, because without him this would not be possible. You got all sorts of things down here as we're coming into Taunton. And Taunton again has had a lot of work done on it to bring it to 2010 spec. So when this was still a dirt area and stuff like that. But yeah, just want to end with our little tribute to Peter. We've got 2 plaques for him. We've got one on the side of the wall, and we got this one. So rest in peace, Peter, and I hope you are happy with what we've finished the route off as. And again with Taunton, that was Peter's favourite place. That's why there's 2 plaques on Taunton Station. That was where they were from, himself and Paul. So we just got, again, lots of clutter updates on here. And just totally updated signage and stuff like that to bring it to life. I'll just leave you with the tribute to Peter. And we'll end the video here. Don't forget, guys, the route is available from Just Trains. It's £21.99 if you own Bristol to Exeter or South Western Expressways, the original route. You can find your code for that to get the discount in your emails on your Just Trains registered email account. If you do not have the code, check your spam inbox, check your junk inbox. If you still don't have your code, email Just Trains support and they'll talk you through trying to get your code sorted out for you. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. We'll be back to doing more regular videos now. Thanks very much for watching. See you later.